Good morning, this is Bud Wassell, and I'm with the Employee and Family Resources Program, which I will tell you about. But welcome to this session on surviving and thriving, especially in this COVID pandemic era. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our Employee and Family Resources Program benefits. And I'll go over these in a moment. And then we're also going to talk about just common emotions that come up, things that we deal with at work mostly. This is centered around, but certainly at home as well. And how to, just really acknowledge some of those emotions and deal with them, and even harness them. Because what we realize is that we don't have control over much, but we can control our emotional response. We'll also talk about some strategies for self-care and doing some mindful pauses and a quick meditation at the end. So, welcome. Glad you could be with me. All right, I'm going to stop my video at this point, just so I don't have that on the recording. I am recording this so that I can post it so those who couldn't be here can watch it. So just want to give you some highlights of Employee and Family Resources Program. First of all, the program is administered by an outside company called Beacon Health Options. So I tell you that because it remains completely confidential. They provide the direct services. So it's not a Yale New Haven Health System program. It's totally HIPAA compliant, so their records are their records. We do not get any records. We do not get any names of people who use the service. So please know that your privacy is assured. There's the toll-free number that you can use, and that's answered 24/7. There's also a website that you can access. You'll see right there in the middle, YNHHS, My Beacon Wellbeing. And there you can search for and find EFR counselors and schedule right online with them. But let me back up a little bit. This first line here, work-life resources, this is a great part of the program that helps you find resources for really just about anything, but specifically childcare, elder care. They do have specialists that help you find services for those. And then also daily living, which means anything that you're kind of looking for the family or for your home or even for your pets, travel, recreation, whatever it might be. They really do the search. And they're good at that. So please keep that in mind. That's a great way to find resources, and they really will help you in a very targeted way. Then there's also the counseling and guidance or consultation part of the program, which means that you can receive up to 6 free visits with one of the counselors, again, totally confidential. And you can either call that number or go on that website to find a provider. And the appointments are really quick. You can get appointments within a few days. And, nowadays, of course, they're all video or phone. So really easy to be at home, for example, and talk to a counselor. And you can use that for any personal issue, work-related or not. But I'm really encouraging people, with the stresses and strains of COVID, and especially at work, with the work that you do is important, but it's also can be very difficult at times. So talking to one of our counselors can be a great way to kind of just offload some of the stress that comes along with that. There's also legal and financial consultation as part of the program and some ongoing services for that. And then there's another website, that achievesolutions.net/YNHHS, that has tons and tons of information, all kinds of interactive features, just really chock full of helpful resources for you. So check that out. We've had over 5,000 of our employees use that in the last 6 months. So it's really getting good usage. And if you don't know about that, I encourage you to check that out. And any of the services that you see. So All right, so I see someone has joined, and welcome. Again, my name is Bud Wassell, and I'm going to go through some of this. I am recording this because I wanted to be able to post it for those who couldn't be available live, so keep that in mind. But I encourage you to either speak up. You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question or make a comment. I'll ask for your input. You can also use the chat feature. That's perfectly fine as well. I'll see that. All right, so moving on, I'm just going to ask you this question. How are you feeling? This gives you a range of feelings, everything from happy to excited to annoyed, scared, nervous, whatever it might be. These are really common reactions, emotional reactions that we have to dealing with these times. And the point I want to make here is that there's such a range of emotions, plus we may have mixed emotions at times. But I would ask you, how are you feeling right now today for, in the last few days or time being for this, coping with the pandemic, and especially at work. And going to the next slide here, you'll see these are, I found these on whiteboardpsychology.com. These are specific cartoons that highlight the emotional world of healthcare providers. So again, everything from frustration, fear, grief, exhaustion. Those are some of the common ones that I've heard. Foreboding, not sure what's going to happen, a real sense of apprehension about what's going to happen in the future. But a lot of people have said they felt very frustrated, very exhausted. And you also may have dealt with some grief and loss kinds of situations. It's real important to recognize that. But if you'd like to either speak up or use the chat feature, tell me, what's the kind of the dominant mood for you right now. When we have a large group, and I ask this question, we really see a range of emotions. And again, the point is that these are natural and common reactions.
Your radiology nurse have access to, do you have a Pyxis and CT, Tanya, over there?
I don't know if that was a question. I think that was just something that came across the audio. So, well, thank you very much. Somebody put in the chat, hope. And so glad you said that. It's really kind of important to acknowledge that side of the spectrum, the positive side. And so that's great. It's good to have hope that we will get through this. Later on in the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about what we've learned from this and what we've realized, how strong we are, and that we can have hope, and that part of the message also is that we can control our thinking, which means that we can really turn our attention to more positive things and be more optimistic, even though we have some of the difficult emotions that are rising up. Which again, think about it. We're dealing with something we've never dealt with, a very extraordinary, difficult situation in our world, and especially in healthcare. And so, it's very normal and natural for you to be feeling some of these things. Cynical. Well, thank you for putting that in. That's another good one. So cynical, I know some people have also spoken about the political climate. We're approaching the elections, and so another strategy for that is trying to limit what you expose yourself to with the news and other media, social media. So be careful about what you take in. And that's part of the message as well, is that we can be careful about and put boundaries about what we allow ourselves to take in. Unsure of who and what to trust. Yeah, that's, I've heard that often in these sessions and in my own family. We hear so many different things. There's so many different, things about protective equipment, masks and so forth, and how this thing gets spread and how to stay away from it. And different states are dealing with it in different ways. So yeah, It's hard to know what to believe. So I think a realistic cynicism is probably a very healthy way to approach this. But thank you for those. And I guess the other thing I would say about emotions, and as we go to the next slide, that these are some of the predominant ones, is that we can learn to just accept them. They're not necessarily, even though they're not that comfortable at times, we can learn to accept them. So this slide shows some of the more common ones: fear, anxiety, grief, anger, uncertainty. So I don't know if those resonate with you, but again, let's also remember there are the positive sides of things, and we can learn to be a little bit more optimistic in a realistic way, not to cover over what's really happening, but to control our own reactions. I mean, that's really the bottom line. We can control our thoughts and our emotions, and that's the point of this part of the presentation. That first step, try to acknowledge your feelings. Just when you feel them, just instead of, most people, we try to push them away, get rid of them, ignore them, deny them. So I simply want you just to be aware of them and acknowledge them. Because the more we resist, the more these things persist. And if we deny them, they usually pop up somewhere else, right? So try to acknowledge them. It can make it more manageable. And we use this is from the Center for Emotional Intelligence at Yale University. Great way that they've taught kids how to increase their emotional intelligence simply by recognizing, as I said, acknowledging the emotion, trying to understand where it's coming from, taking a little bit of time with it, labeling it. Just the act of labeling our emotions can be so helpful in taming them, in a sense. And then that allows us to figure out how we want to express them. It gives us a thoughtful moment as a way to know what's the best way to express how I'm feeling to my family, my coworkers, to patients, to anyone you're interacting with. And then, of course, the last step, this helps us to regulate it. So we have control over it. We can regulate our emotional response. That's the point. So keep that acronym RULER in mind as emotions come up. So any comments about that before I move on with some other kinds of things that are important ways to help cope? All right, so the obvious stuff, it does work. Staying active, eating well, getting good sleep, being careful and limiting habits that don't help in the long run. Couple things to highlight here. All the studies really show that good, vigorous exercise is as good as an antidepressant. So, it's been hard to exercise lately. Maybe you haven't been able to go to your usual outlets for that. Try to find some ways to get some good exercise in. This will make such a difference, not only in your physical health, but your emotional health. Eating well is important. Sometimes it's not that easy. We don't have, again, the same easy ways to get food as we used to, perhaps. We want to be careful about that, but it's so important to eat a balanced diet. And it's important to eat a balanced diet in terms of what we take in. So just a sidebar about this, that, sometimes we find ourselves watching a lot of Netflix, for example, binging on Netflix or live stream of some other way. And that's, I heard Laurie Santos, the professor at the universities, say that that's kind of considered junk food in the emotional diet. So not that there's anything wrong with that. We need a little junk food at times, and we need that rest and relaxation, but we also need to eat a salad and some healthy stuff when it comes to what we're taking in. So be careful how you're, nourishing yourself. Getting good sleep. Almost everybody I've talked to has been having difficulty sleeping, myself included, waking up in the middle of the night, mind running, very active, emotions running high. So this is, you'll get these slides, and this particular link to How to Sleep When You're Anxious is great by Dr. Judd Brewer. So it's a brief video, like 6-7 minutes. You might want to check that out. Keeping in touch with people, having somebody, a buddy at work, a peer, somebody who really understands what it's like for you in your role is so important. So have someone that you can check in with, 1 or 2 people that you can text or call, or, once or twice a day, check in and say, how you doing? How'd you sleep last night? How you feeling today? What's going on? And just, have that easy check-in interchange, okay? And using the support of your family and friends. They may not always get the work that you do, but still making sure that you find creative ways to connect with people. And then limiting contact with those who cause you anxiety is important too. Sometimes there are certain people with everything that's going on that maybe make us more anxious, so be careful with them. And just be creative and try to find good ways that work for you in this social support. So important. Now, turning to resiliency, this is 7 habits of resilient people, and they're all important. I've touched on a couple, like optimism. We're going to be talking about mind calming, restorative activities. But the last 4 I want to kind of highlight, I've put in red here: important goals, keeping with your values, having that sense of purpose, and learning from past challenges. So just think about, what was the reason why you went into the helping profession, whatever it is you do, whether you're a nurse or whatever your role is as a caregiver. Why did you first do that? It probably had something to do with that really mattered for you in terms of helping people. So try to reconnect with that and remind yourself why you're doing the work that you're doing. There are exercises to kind of go back and really get in touch with what matters to us. So I'm happy to make some suggestions for those if you're interested. But also realize that during this time, we've also learned from these challenges. There's been post-traumatic growth. So I'll ask you, and if you would like to chime in through the chat or unmute yourself, please let me know. What have you learned? If you think back to yourself back in February, what have you learned since then? What are some things in terms of even like a silver lining, even though it's been a difficult time? Most of us have learned something about ourselves, our families, our workplace. And I'll just mention a couple that people have said in previous groups. They've realized how well they can adapt and can work and be strong and do what needs to be done despite the challenges. And they've learned how to adapt and work well together. So team functioning has actually improved. And I've heard people say that, it's strengthened family relationships, even though it's more difficult in some ways. But it's helped people come back to what matters to them in the family, and they spend some more quality time together. So what have you learned? What have you learned in the past few months? And again, I think a lot of people really point to the fact that even though it's been a tough time, we've kind of gotten better at dealing with adversity, bouncing back. That's kind of the definition of resilience, bouncing back and recovering and realizing that we have a lot of creativity and confidence and competence to be able to handle some of these things that life throws our way. And that's a good thing. All right, so I'm going to turn now to self-care and how important it is. And this quote really, I think, exemplifies that we really need to make self-care a priority. And not view it as a simple luxury. That's something we do at the end of the day for ourselves if we have enough time. So the quote is, self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer others. That part of it's so important right there. Anytime we can listen to the true self and give the care it requires to ourselves, we do it not only for ourselves, but for the many others whose lives we touch. So, I mean, it's important that we fill our own well that we draw upon to be able to give to others. And if you don't do that, you will feel the exhaustion, because you'll be constantly, giving, and you need to fill yourself up a little bit. So I'm going to show you a couple of short, easy ways, and that's the key here. I'm not expecting you to make any big, huge, drastic changes in your lifestyle, but simple, easy ways that you can make mindful or purposeful pauses in your day to do some things to change gears psychologically, in a sense, to reset your mind, much like we reset a computer or phone, to be able to recharge, okay? So one is just to look for these brief moments where we can tap into a peaceful state of mind, even though life is hectic and chaotic. And that is possible. And even though it feels that way at work sometimes, we can take control of our energy and our focus by taking a pause. And here's one that I'm going to run you through right now. 3 breaths for a mindful pause. So do this with me, okay? Just take one really deep breath and really feel the breath itself as you breathe in and out. Really nice full in breath and a long, slow out breath. And just really feel the breath as it enters and leaves the body. The breath is an anchor to the present moment. Another deep breath in. Notice the body. What does it need? Maybe it needs to stretch or relax or have some water or eat something, to move, to slow down. What does the body need? Just check in with yourself. 3rd deep breath, really nice and deep in and out. And remember to be kind to yourself. Our kindness that we give to others really starts with ourselves. And it's that idea of, again, doing things for yourself that help restore you. So being kind to yourself, give you a pat on the back, say thanks to yourself, really acknowledge the good that you do, the caring that you give, the kindness that you give, and give that back to yourself. Okay, so that's 3 breaths for a mindful pause. If you do this once a day or twice a day, I can almost guarantee you that this will help change your energy. It'll help you remember to do some things actively to take care of yourself. You can also do some of these things when you wash your hands. For example, you can be mindful about that and bring your awareness to the act of washing your hands. Because usually when we wash our hands or we do any of these other routine activities, we're thinking about all the other stuff we got to get done. And our minds are cluttered with the stresses and strains of the day and the worries and concerns and all the things that we've got to do. And that just adds to the load, So give yourself a brief break for that 1 or 2 minutes while you're washing your hands and feel the water, smell the soap, really get in touch with the sensations of doing this simple act, and give your mind a rest while you're doing that. Okay? So lots of different activities that we do routinely, as you see listed here. Try just being mindful and being in the present moment while you're doing them. The mind will often wander. It'll take us to other places. And so, that's a way of coming back to the present moment. As I said, we can do that with the breath, but we can also do that with mindful activities. This link on the bottom here is about mindful eating. And that's when you get that, you can check that out. Get a piece of chocolate or a raisin or something like that, a piece of fruit, and you can do this quick mindful eating exercise. And that's another way to just enjoy, you know, when you eat at work, for example, do you really taste the food? Do you savor it? Do you really enjoy it? And mindful eating can really help us do that. I love this cat stretch, cat yoga slide here. And it just reminds us that we can bring mindfulness to our movement while we're walking, or we can remember to stretch and to do some things to relieve tension. Sometimes we hold tension in a particular part of the body, like our shoulders or jaw or something. So do some slow stretching to relieve the tension there, along with some deep breathing. That also can be done very quickly and very easily, and will really help your overall energy and how you feel. Do some really active stretching, and you really get the blood flowing. Like I was saying with the exercise, some active stretching, and you really feel a little bit more energized, okay? So try slow stretching or active stretching. Either one will be helpful. So right now, what I'd like to do is run you through a quick mindful exercise, a brief meditation. It'll only take maybe about 5 minutes, okay? And so if you've never done this before, it's very easy to do. There's no right or wrong way. You just follow along with my voice and my guidance. I'll tell you exactly what to do, and just let it unfold. You know, try to let go of any expectations, and just give yourself permission to relax and enjoy this practice. So first of all, just sit in a comfortable position with your feet flat on the floor and your back relatively straight, but in a position that you can be relaxed and also alert. All right. And the first step is, as we close our eyes, and you can also keep them slightly open if you prefer, but you want to be able to turn inward. First, sense your body, starting with your torso, and just be aware of what's going on in the torso. Just feeling the belly and the chest and the back and the pelvic area, the sides of your torso. And you might notice the breathing expressing itself in the torso and the chest, the belly. Just pay attention to that for a moment. Just feel the breath. As it goes in and out, you can feel a slight rise and fall and expansion and contraction in the chest area. You can really, if you really pay attention, you can feel it in the belly. If you take a deep breath, you can feel it in the belly, stretching and relaxing. You can even feel it in the back, because the lungs and the ribs are in the back of the body as well. So just feeling the breathing in the whole torso area, expanding in all directions as you breathe in, subsiding as you breathe out. Very good. And then just let your breath breathe itself very naturally and very easily. Now let your awareness go down into your feet and legs, and feel that sense of connection and being anchored or rooted to the ground through your feet. And then bring your awareness up into your shoulders. Let your shoulders relax. Let this awareness pour down into your arms and hands, resting easily. Then be aware of your neck and your jaw and your face and your head. And just let all these areas relax and soften and be right here, right now. The body is always in the present moment, so it's a good way to anchor ourselves in the body. Now we're going to turn our attention to caring for others and then caring for ourselves. So breathing in as we do this very gently and naturally, bring to mind caring for someone else. Might be a patient or a family member or a colleague or even a pet. And just pay attention to what this feels like in your body as you get in touch with this sense of caring for someone else, the satisfaction that it brings. And notice where you feel that in, maybe around the heart area. Just pay attention to that and just observe. And you can notice maybe a sense of receiving this compassion and sending it out to those that are burdened at this time. Focusing on our good wishes for them. Perhaps for a colleague or a family member or a patient, anyone you're thinking of. And sending them good wishes about being safe and healthy and protected and having peace in their lives. There are plenty of people who are vulnerable, so just sending our care and compassion to those folks. Resting in our own good-heartedness. Now allow our awareness to loosen and relax and let things come to the surface, to just bubble up, whatever it is, any thoughts, emotions, and even if there are things that are kind of concerning you, just letting them come to the surface. And as you are aware of them, just then let them go. You can let them just bubble up and drain away, float away. So that we allow things to flow through us, through kind of this open space of our awareness. Staying in touch with our breathing, feeling the breath as we do this. Not engaging with them or trying to fix anything in the moment, just letting them be and acknowledging to ourselves, this is how it is right now. Breathing and letting go of our tension in the body. Just accepting things as they are. Much like letting things pass through the open sky of our awareness as storm clouds pass through the open sky. Just letting them come and go. And whenever it feels right to you, we can shift our focus to receiving care and compassion. Bringing it into ourselves, and whatever might feel comforting to you, allow that to come in. Whatever is supportive, whatever you need, whatever could be hopeful and beneficial at this time. Breathing into your heart area as you do this. Nourishing your heart, allowing it to expand. As you stay in touch with whatever care and compassionate message that you would find helpful. Might be a message that you would tell someone else, but sending that to yourself. Noticing how this feels and accepting it and receiving it. Just welcoming whatever it is, however it is. And you can also let in whatever you're thankful for. Might come to mind something that you're happy about or you're grateful for, a person or circumstance in your life. Whatever it is, just bring to mind something you're grateful for, some positive thing as well. And before we close the practice in this final minute, just allowing whatever's been helpful during this time, just to let it sink in, just to savor it, just to let it sink into your mind and your heart and your body. Might be calm or strength or acceptance or gratitude, care for yourself, care for others. And when you're ready, bring your awareness back to your body, being aware of your feet on the floor and your body in the chair where you're sitting. And slowly opening the eyes, and feel free to stretch or move as we finish the practice. And just notice how this feels. It might feel a little bit different than the way you felt at the beginning or this morning. But just as an example, just as a way to kind of be still and be quiet with ourselves, hopefully you found it relaxing and helpful. Any comments, or what was that like for you? Sometimes people report almost falling asleep, and that's okay. Probably just might mean that you needed sleep if that's the case.
Yeah, I fell asleep.
Yeah, okay. That's a very common. Soothing is one of the comments. Clarity of mind. Yeah, very good. Good. That's all perfectly just right. There's no right or wrong way for us to feel after doing this. And so, because, sometimes the mind is very active and sometimes it's hard to settle, but it really can help us settle. And as I go to the next slide, I kind of see what I mean. And what you said, clarity of mind, it's the perfect description of this cartoon. Because, so often we can be out in nature on a walk with our dog and our minds are full of everything that's going on. We're so worried and our minds are wandering and focusing on the negatives and all the things you got to get done. And, we're really not in the present moment. We're not mindful. And if we can be mindful, which really simply means to just let those things go away, let them be, kind of like we did in the exercise. Let our minds be clear, let them settle. They're still there, when you need to attend to them, they'll still be there. But let our minds be like the dog here. So be like the dog. The dog can just see what's in front of him or her, just the sun, the trees, the smells, all the sensations that are right here and now. And so that's a great way to be mindful and to take ourselves off of autopilot. Because when we go on autopilot, our minds wander, and usually they'll wander to negative thought patterns that we are well conditioned for. So you might try that. I'll give you a couple of ways that you can do that. But it really does help to practice, even if they're just brief, short things like I mentioned before, the 3 breaths, or the everyday, hand washing. I've heard a lot of people say, you're going into a patient's room, when you touch the doorknob, letting go of what was in the past and then taking a deep breath and just bringing yourself into the present moment so that you can meet that person in the here and now without being distracted or having preoccupations about things. I touched on a couple of these things on building a positive mindset because we do have a negativity bias. And when you get these slides, these are all links to brief videos. But we can overcome the negativity bias, but we have to actively do that. And so focusing on gratitude, which we did in the meditation briefly, focusing on a good thing that's happening in your life can really be helpful to that. But we have to do that with some regularity. So try it. Try even just a 7-day challenge. Every day, jot down something that you're grateful for or a good thing that happened at work. And I can almost guarantee this will begin to shift your mindset to a more positive frame of mind. The last link there is about making stress your friend, is all about that we can really change how we relate to stress and how we perceive stress. And that's really what it's all about. You know, it's not the stressor that makes us stressed. It's how we filter it through our own minds. And we can change our attitude about it, and really it can make a difference as to how we approach life and stress. So great comment here. 100% starting the day with gratitude changes everything. Yeah, and so if you can do it at the beginning of the day, that's a wonderful practice. Really, really good. Try it at the end of the day too. It's a great way to review the day and say, yeah, this happened, and this went really well, that went really well. I had a great interchange with a patient or with a friend or family, whatever, you know. So that's an excellent suggestion. Starting the day off like that really sets the tone for the whole day. So I'll leave you with this, and just let me know if you have any questions. But this last slide, we do have some phone meditations that we do now 5 days a week. These are live meditations, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2. You call in just like a conference call, and we lead a 10-minute meditation. So you're welcome to join us. If you can't call at those times, we have this recorded line in the blue box, and that's a different number, 203-688-6185. And there are 3 recorded meditations on there that you can listen to 24/7. We also have meditations on our website, the website that I pointed out before for employee and family resources. And, you know, there are lots of apps out there. Insight Timer is a good one. 10% Happier. Calm is a good one. There's a lot of good ones out there. And I'm in the system. Again, my name is Bud Wassell. If you have any questions or anything I can help with, we do classes from time to time. So I'm planning to do a class this fall. If you're interested in signing up for that, just let me know. Happy to get you on the invite list. Yeah, the recorded meditations are 3 different lengths. That's the question that came across. There are 3 choices. One is very brief. It's like 3 minutes. Another one is like 7 minutes. And I think the third one is about 9 minutes. So give you 3 different times. And on our website too, there are different lengths. And, you know, that's really a good point, that you can do short ones. You know, that's fine. What's more important, the research shows, if we do it more often, with more regularity, just like going to the gym, that's when we get the most benefit from doing these practices. So keep that in mind. So even if they're brief pauses, doing them mindfully, but do them every day if you can. That's where you really start to see. And that'll help you cope with stress better. It'll help you focus on the positive. It'll help you focus, just be more focused and concentrated on what you're doing and less distractible. So those are just some of the benefits. It'll help you connect better with others, which really can help our compassion, right? So that's it. Any last questions or comments before I close out? Again, I do have this recorded, and I put it up on a YouTube site. I'll let you know where that's going to be. If there's anybody who missed these, they can watch it at their own convenience. Well, thank you very much. I want to say, may you be safe, may you be healthy and well. May you find these moments of peace. May you find care for yourselves. May you find ways to really take care of yourselves that really make a difference. And I wish you well in your work you do, and thank you for the work you do. It's really important. And make sure you do take good care of yourself. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Bud, so much.
Thank you.